What's going on, Packers fans? Happy Packers game day. Welcome into an all-new episode of the Pack-A-Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You can find the podcast at Pack-A-Day Podcast. Thanks so much for joining me today. Excited to dig into this one in totality. Everything you need to know, injury report, keys to the game, matchups, you name it. We're going to cover it today, including my final prediction for the game at the end of today's show. So stick around for that. Before we get into today's show, I want to give a huge shout out to our brand new Pack-A-Day Podcast YouTube members, Connor Wonderly, Joey Soper, JT Collections, Alex Banda, and brand new Hall of Fame member, Bill Reinhart. Thank you guys so incredibly much for signing up. Appreciate it a ton. Like I said, we've got a lot to get into, and we are going to start off with the injury report presented by Habish Rotier. From an injury standpoint, it's the offensive lines that are really the key talking point here, starting with the Packers. Zach Tom, Anthony Belton, as we know, both out for this game. Doubtful, Aaron Banks. I'm assuming he's not going to play in this one. Questionable is Javon Bullard, the safety. He did practice both Thursday and Friday, so hopefully that's a good sign that he's going to be able to clear concussion protocol on time and be able to go. We'll see. This is not like really an issue of being cautious. If he clears protocol, he's going to be good to go. If he doesn't clear protocol, he's not good to go. It's kind of as simple as that. But we'll see if they are able to but if he clears protocol ahead of time and hopefully can play in this game against Dallas. Obviously, his health is first and foremost. But if he can go, it would certainly help this Packers secondary. But the big thing here is the Packers offensive line. Two starters in Aaron Banks and Zach Tom, the likely replacement for Zach Tom and Anthony Belton. And you have five players that I would normally say you have some level of trust in, but following last week, it's tough to trust anything on the offensive line right now. My assumption is your starting five on the offensive line is going to be Rasheed Walker at left tackle, Jordan Morgan at left guard, Elton Jenkins at center. At right guard, you'll have Sean Ryan, and then at right tackle will be Darian Kennard. If there is a swap somewhere, if that's not it, I would assume it would be Darian Kennard at left guard and Jordan Morgan at right tackle. I can't imagine Sheed's moving anywhere, that they're going to do anything with Jenkins this week, or Sean Ryan at right guard. So it would seem left guard and right tackle are the two, and it would seem the two obvious players to step up and play in this situation are Morgan at left guard and Kennard at right tackle, or maybe you swap them. Your only other options in this one, at least, from an active roster standpoint, are Brant Banks and Donovan Jennings. Jennings is not in any sort of contention there. I don't think they would do Brant Banks at right tackle. That would be quite the jump from undrafted free agent to practice squad player to now starting over Darian Kennard. I just don't see that happening. So there are two options, really. Again, Kennard at right tackle, Morgan at left guard, or swap them if you will. But I would expect Morgan at left guard and Kennard at right tackle. And I'm assuming they've been mostly practicing with that group all week long, at least since Belton went out with the injury. They were probably prepping Belton to be the right tackle, but now Kennard just takes his spot and everything else remains the same. That would seem to make the most sense at this point in time. From a Cowboys standpoint, two players that are out this week, Tyler Booker and CeeDee Lamb. Tyler Booker, their first-round pick, starting guard. CeeDee Lamb, of course, their star wide receiver. But it is worth noting that Cooper Beebe, their starting center, also is on injured reserve, so he will be out this game as well. So they are down two starting offensive linemen and their top weapon on offense in CeeDee Lamb. From a Cowboys standpoint, some good news. Diggs and Bland, their two starting corners, are good to go in this one. No injury designation. Kenny Clark is also good to go. He was not on the injury report all week, but I did continue to get questions about him because he was a little bit banged up last week, but he has not been on the injury report all week long, and he is good to go in this one. But two starters on the offensive line, again, Tyler Booker and Cooper Beebe. That's going to make things challenging for the Dallas offense, and of course for Green Bay's offense. Missing three offensive linemen, going to hurt them as well. Needless to say, the trenches are going to play a massive part in this game. We'll get to that more in just a moment, but those are your injuries for this game, and they are definitely going to play a major factor, especially on both offensive lines. And then CeeDee Lamb, of course, playmaker number one for Dallas. His absence is massive and just makes it a lot tougher for Dak to get into that rhythm and start hitting some of those big plays down the field. Yes, you still have George Pickens. A lot easier to try to control Pickens when there's no CeeDee Lamb on the other side of the field. Now, Habish has 13 office locations conveniently located throughout the state of Wisconsin, including 7 minutes from Lambeau Field and 5 minutes from Camp Randall Stadium. When you call Habish, you are going to talk to a lawyer directly. Super simple, guys. Their number is 800-242-2874 or 800-2HABISH. Of course, you can also visit their website at habish.com. Habish Rotier, national reputation, hometown service. We've also got our Luigi's Pizza player to watch in this game. To me, I'm going Elton Jenkins. I am going Elton Jenkins as my player to watch. We're going to talk about those offensive lines more here in just a moment. Easy to talk about Micah Parsons in this one, right? It's just the big matchup and he returns to Dallas. This Packers offensive line has to play better. They have to play better. And with Zach Tom out, the player that should be the next best player on that line is Elton Jenkins. He's really the captain of that offensive line. He's the leader. He's the veteran. He's the center. He's calling the shots up front. He's got to be the guy that sort of rallies this group together, leads by example, plays well on his own, and hopefully it's a little bit contagious because they need everybody to play so much better than they did a week ago. Elton's been bad this past week, especially. The first 2 weeks were bad for his standards. I wouldn't say bad for general offensive line play, but certainly bad for his standards. And this past week was bad for any standard. And the thing I love about it is he owned up to it. He said he's been playing like crap, for lack of a better term. So I love the fact that he's aware of it, that he's willing to admit to it, own it. And now we just have to see if he can correct it. If he can play well in the center, certainly going against Kenny Clark this week with a little bit of extra motivation, that's going to help the offensive line a ton. So I'm watching this offensive line really close, and Elton Jenkins has got to be the guy that just kind of calms everything, makes it better, and that starts with him up front. So my Luigi's Pizza player to watch in this one is Elton Jenkins. Now, you're probably planning your game night, right? Well, no celebration is complete without Luigi's Big Daddy Pizza. Whether you're cheering for the Packers or just need a snack, Luigi's delivers bold and satisfying flavors that everyone will love. Choose the double sausage, double mushroom for a meaty experience, or indulge in the extra special topped with mushrooms, sausage, black olives, onions, pepperoni, and green peppers, all draped under a rich 3-cheese blend. And for those who can't get enough garlic bread, don't miss out on the Big Daddy garlic dippers, complete with a dipping sauce. No matter your choice, Luigi's has your game night covered. Discover it in the freezer aisle of your local grocery store. Luigi's Pizza, taste the tradition. All right, as we get ready for this game, of course, there's always going to be players that are deactivated due to injury or are not active for the game because they need to have, only 48 players active. This one should be relatively easy. They are going to have to activate at least one of their offensive linemen. The choices are Lacita Smith and Dalton Cooper. They could activate both. I think that's a little bit overkill. There's no real injury of anybody else. I know Sheed's been a little bit banged up, but he's good to go. I don't think you need 9. They could do it, but it seems, like I said, totally unnecessary. I think they'll go with 8. My guess is Lacita Smith is that player, but it is interesting. Dalton Cooper's been the one that's been on the practice squad. Smith is the guy they just picked up this week, but Smith makes more sense to me. Brant Banks is probably going to be your swing tackle. On the inside, it's probably Donovan Jennings. Lacita Smith gives you an extra center. I just think that is probably the best way to go, but they probably activate off the practice squad one of Lacita Smith or Dalton Cooper. I should note I'm recording this very early Saturday morning prior to call-ups. If you're listening to this on Sunday, you probably already know who they called up on Saturday. If not, you can look it up because it's been done already. But my guess is that one of those offensive linemen are called up. Assuming they only call up one offensive lineman and not 2, they don't really need to call up anybody else on the roster. So that would mean they'd only need to deactivate 2 players in this game because of the injuries that they already have. Remember, they have an open roster spot still, so they're only at 52 players, not 53. I would assume Warren Brinson, for the 4th consecutive week, will be one of those deactivated players. And then the other one should be relatively simple. If Javon Bullard can't go, it's going to be Javon Bullard. If it's Javon Bullard that's good to go and he's active, I would assume it's just like last week, and Kamal Haddon would be the player that they would deactivate in that scenario. So only 2 players. If Bullard's good to go, hopefully he is. Warren Brinson and Kamal Haddon, the 2 players I would expect to be deactivated in this particular game on game day, an hour and a half before kickoff. All right, let's get into all the keys. I got 10 keys per usual, 10 things that I'm going to be watching in this one. And we kind of spoiled one of them already, but it's 1A on the list. It It's everything in this game to me. It's where my eyes are going to go immediately, and that's to the Packers offensive line. It was that bad last week. You know it. I know it. They know it. The Cowboys know it, right? You cannot win with your offensive line playing that way. I know people want to criticize Matt LaFleur's play calling. I hated the last play call on the play call on the third down that ended up in the interception. Thought that was an unnecessary risk over the middle of the field in that situation. Just really, really did not like that one. But what I will say is, I said all last week, it is really difficult to call plays when you can't run block and you can't pass protect. There's no third random option. You can't teleport. You can't there's no new thing that you can do on the field. So to me, this starts up front. Now, Dallas's defensive line is nowhere near, and I mean nowhere near, the Browns' defensive line, and certainly does not have a Myles Garrett. They kind of had one, but he's now a Green Bay Packer. If you look at the interior, Kenny Clark's going to be very motivated. Oso Odigizua is a good defensive tackle. They don't exactly strike the fear of God in you, but they're good players. Dante Fowler's had a good career, and he's coming off a good year this past year. Jadeveon Clowney is likely making his debut in Dallas, and he's going to probably want to show what he's capable of in his first game as a Cowboy. And they did spend a second-round pick on Donovan Ezeraku. He hasn't done much in the first few weeks, but he's a talented player. It's not nothing. They're not completely barren. It's not just going up against like 4 practice squad guys, but you feel a lot better going up against this group. And quite frankly, it's probably more on like Washington's level. They don't have anyone even like Aiden Hutchinson from like Detroit, where at least they had him. This is probably, again, a very similar defensive line to, I would say, Washington's. Washington's may be a little bit better because of their interior of the line, but it's similar. And what I will say is, against Detroit and Washington, Green Bay was fine. It wasn't great offensive line play, but it was passable. It was serviceable. It was winnable. Like, you could win with the way the offensive line played in those first 2 games, and that's exactly what they did. In week 3, it was not. It was brutal, atrocious. I guarantee you that Cowboys defensive line is looking at Green Bay's offensive line and saying, this is a get-right game for us. We're going to be able to go against that really shaky, completely beat up Packers offensive line where nobody's really playing well right now, and we're going to be able to have a huge day and get our season on track and get some big numbers, some sacks, etc. That's what they're thinking. And for Green Bay, they're looking at Dallas's defensive line that's not done almost anything so far and saying, this is a get-right game for us. We're going to be able to pass protect, run block better, and we're going to be able to get after this. This is the big matchup. Just watch it early. If Dallas is dominating up front, maybe not similarly to Cleveland, I don't think it's going to be that bad, but at a high enough level where you're not running the ball consistently and Jordan Love's under pressure a lot, we got a ball game. This is going to be another fight to the end. And I don't think that's what anyone wants. I think everyone wants to see Green Bay just take care of business, hopefully sooner rather than later in this one. And on the flip side, if Dallas can't get any pressure, and or if Josh Jacobs is running effectively because of the offensive line, it's going to be a long day for Dallas. They can't defend the pass consistently unless they get a pass rush. And I don't think they can put up enough points, not on this Green Bay defense, and certainly not without CeeDee Lamb and 2 offensive linemen. So all the rest of the 9 things we're about to discuss matter, but this is the one that by far and away matters the most. And if Green Bay's offensive line plays well, to me, it's just over. Green Bay's going to win this game. Dallas doesn't have enough other opportunities for success in this one, barring a complete collapse of a calamity of turnovers and other stuff. Sure, there's always that, right? But in a normal game, Green Bay pass protects, run blocks well enough in this game. They're probably winning, and I like them to win probably on the bigger side. On the flip side, if Dallas is dominating up front, again, we've got a ball game, and it's not what we want to see in this one. Number 2, we kind of talked about it too, the Cowboys offensive line. No Tyler Booker, no Cooper Beebe, and their tackles are okay, right? Like if Beebe and Booker are in there with, Terrence Steele, Tyler Guyton, their first round pick from a year ago, it's fine. But when you're missing 2 starters, like Tyler Smith is awesome at guard. Like he's phenomenal. But then you've got 2, offensive tackles that are okay, but now they're like your second and third player. Now everything sort of starts to fall apart a little bit. And I don't think either of those tackles can come remotely close to stopping Micah Parsons. And I love the one-on-one matchup on either of the other ones. If it's Terrence Steele or Tyler Guyton versus Rashawn Gary or even LVN, I expect those guys to be able to win those one-on-one matchups. And with two players down, Huffman's okay at center. I'm assuming they're going to go TJ Bass at guard for the other one, but I can't say that 1,000,000% for sure. Either way, it's advantage Green Bay on the interior. So this is another one where if Dallas can't run the ball and Dak is under pressure all day, going to be very similar to what we just talked about with Green Bay. It's going to be very, very difficult for Dallas to get anything going on offense, and Green Bay just runs away with this game. So the two offensive lines, really the story. Take your eye off the ball. It's always worth watching the trenches early to see who's kind of winning, but this one has a little bit more emphasis, especially with all the backups that are going to be playing on both offensive lines in this particular game. Hey friends, it's time to start getting our sleeper picks in for week 4. Vikings, Steelers, our first international game of the year. I think this one's going to be a defensive struggle, so I'm going to be going fewer on a lot of these categories, including Aaron Rodgers, fewer than 202.5 passing yards. I think this Vikings defense is going to be all over Aaron Rodgers, and I think passing the football is going to be extremely difficult in this game. Meanwhile, Jordan Mason, less than 79.5 rushing yards. To me, this Steelers defense is going to make Carson Wentz beat them and make sure that Jordan Mason is not getting the requisite yardage to need to get a win internationally. So I'm going Jordan Mason, fewer than 79.5 rushing yards. And last but not least, Justin Jefferson, more than 5.5 receptions. This is the one that I'm making an exception on for what I believe is going to be a defensive struggle. I think Minnesota is going to feed Justin Jefferson, get him involved early and often, and make him the star of that Sunday morning international game. Just to recap, Aaron Rodgers, fewer than 202.5 passing yards, Jordan Mason, fewer than 79.5 rushing yards, and Justin Jefferson, more than 5.5 receptions. Make sure to get your picks in over on Sleeper. You can get a 100% match up to $100 by using code PACKADAY. Again, a 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKADAY. Make sure to use that code. Check it out over on Sleeper. And make sure that you understand that terms and conditions can apply. So check out those terms and conditions over on Sleeper. It is available in over 25 states. So what are you waiting for? Get after it right now. Number 3 is special teams. Kind of covering the things that were catastrophic for Green Bay in week 3. Can they be better in week 4? Here's why special teams is interesting in this one. They did not play well a week ago, meaning Green Bay. You had the block kick and some penalties, and just it wasn't good all the way around. But furthermore, Dallas does have 2 unique weapons that are worth noting here. And maybe the real true advantage that Dallas has in this game is on special teams. Turpin, their kick returner and punt returner, is a phenomenal returner. And they do a good job of springing him and getting him good looks. This is one where your coverage units are going to have to be on the top of their game. Because if not, he will house one. And right now, with Green Bay's offensive line struggling, you don't want to give Dallas any extra points. And with Green Bay's defense playing as insane as they are, you don't want to give them points through special teams. You have to make them earn it. You have to make them go through that defense because teams just aren't capable of doing it right now. So don't give them extra chances to win this game by allowing big returns or touchdowns on special teams. That's number 1. But number 2, Brandon Aubrey is the best kicker in football. And he's good from like 65, 68 yards. If they get to midfield, you're in Brandon Aubrey field goal range if you want to be. Like, it's crazy the leg that this guy has. So you could run into a scenario where Green Bay's struggling on offense with their offensive line. They're struggling to get the ball down the field and put points on the board. And meanwhile, Dallas can't move the ball in Green Bay's defense because of how good it is, but they get, to the 35 on the kick return, pick up 1 first down to get to the 45. They pick up 5 yards, go on the next 3 plays, and all of a sudden it's 4th down, but they're at the 50-yard line. It's a 67-yard field goal. Aubrey might just attempt it and make it. So the defense did their job, but now Dallas is putting up points in this situation where Green Bay is not. Like, that's a recipe for Dallas. I don't think it's going to go that succinctly for them and that perfectly for them, but you get my point. Dallas is in field goal range a lot quicker than Green Bay is because of the leg of Brandon Aubrey. So special teams has the ability to play a pretty significant role in this game, with Brandon Aubrey being able to kick from really far distances and with the return game potential from Turpin as well, again, both as a kick returner and a punt returner, Green Bay special teams going to have to be up to the task in this one. Number 4, we made it this far, but let's just say it. It's Micah Parsons, right? The reason he's not higher on this list or the player to watch or anything like that is because he's been outstanding in every game. Even if he has extra motivation in this one, even if he plays at his highest of levels, is it really going to be that much better than what we've seen so far? Maybe. Sure. Great. I will certainly take it. But he's been so freaking good. And Dallas, I don't think is going to have an answer for him. That this is a huge opportunity for Green Bay to get him that big, I think, I don't want to say breakout performance. He's been awesome the first 3 weeks, but, certainly get him his, his big plays in this one that I'm sure he would love to get going against Dallas, who of course traded him away. So Micah Parsons is going to have a big time impact in this game. I would be stunned if Dallas was able to keep him under wraps. I think he at least gets 1 sack in this one, but without needing to dive into it too far, Micah Parsons will have a big impact on this game. Number 5 is the opposite, right? Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark should also have an impact in this game. Green Bay has not been able to get their run game going at all. And Kenny Clark is so good as a run defender and is going to have some say in if Green Bay can get that offensive line going and get that run game going, especially on the interior. Kenny's going to want to get his in this one too. I truly believe that Kenny has no ill will for this trade. I think he, Dallas is not a bad place to play in general. He seemed, fine with it for the most part, but still, put yourself in Kenny's shoes, right? Your first round pick by the team. You've been there forever. You've given everything you've had to try to, compete at the highest of levels. And then a new shiny toy comes along and they jettison you immediately without even a second thought, right? He's going to have some motivation in this one, rightfully so. Hope Kenny plays well to an extent, like a 42-0 blowout for Green Bay, but have nothing but love for Kenny Clark. And maybe this one he gets shut down on, but the rest of the season he goes, he's going to face some other NFC North teams. So maybe when he's playing Minnesota, Detroit, Chicago, where he already played, but Minnesota, Detroit, maybe he can go have his big games in those particular games. But I'm sure Kenny's going to get a couple big plays in this one as well. Number 6 is Dak Prescott. And more specifically, Dak he can be a bit of a streaky player. If you're confusing him, getting him out of his rhythm, doesn't have his number 1 target, maybe, you can get him off his rhythm pretty quick and he struggles to find it. But he gets going early, starts connecting some passes. He's got a little bit of that Steph Curry to him where he just all of a sudden catches fire and it can be a very long day for you. This is one where you want to keep him under wraps. You want to keep him confused. You don't want to get that rhythm and timing. You don't want him connecting with George Pickens and Ferguson and, Turpin and anyone else. I think this plays out well for Green Bay. The running game in Dallas isn't great. And you're missing CeeDee Lamb. Ferguson's good, but he's not like a game breaker. And Pickens is good, but they're going to keep an extra eye on him, probably keep a safety over the top. And I just think it's going to be very difficult, especially with Jeff Hafley and all the unique things he does on this defense. This is advantage Hafley and the Packers on this one, but you still have to be cognizant of it. And you certainly don't want Dak Prescott getting in any sort of real rhythm. I don't think he will, but it's worth noting nonetheless and worth keeping an eye on. Number 7 is I think this has the ability to be a pretty big Tucker Kraft game. Dallas doesn't have the linebackers or really the safeties or really anybody to match up with him. If Green Bay can get him matched up with Jack Sanborn and Kenneth Murray, the 2 linebackers, neither of those guys are remotely sticking with Tucker Kraft on any real level. And Tucker Kraft has the ability to run after the catch. He can get open. We've seen this year, kind of work the seam a little bit more. Even if they're in zone, he knows how to find those little spots in zone coverage. I think this can be a pretty big Tucker Kraft game. Add in the fact that Watson's not back yet. Jaden Reed is out. Love and Golden haven't quite been on the same page yet. I like Tucker Kraft in this one. I think, I know he's been a little bit banged up this past week, but I think he'll be good to go. No injury designation. And I expect Tucker Kraft to have a big game against this Dallas defense. Number 8, Green Bay's got to really hone in and tone down the self-inflicted wounds. And this starts with penalties, right? Can't have the pre-snap penalties, can't get in longer down and distance situations. This offense needs every little advantage it can get because of the offensive line. you don't want to start putting them in third and long situations where Dallas's defense can just tee off on a offensive line that's not fully healthy and certainly is very far away from fully functional at the moment. So the worst way, or the easiest way, I guess you could say, to get yourself into bad situations is by stupid penalties and dumb mistakes. You do that, you push yourself back, and all of a sudden now Dallas is in advantageous looks defensively. And like I said, that's not where you want to be in this game. So limit the self-inflicted wounds and specifically all the penalties and pre-snap penalties that Green Bay's been having such a problem with as of late. Number 9, who gets a touchdown size lead first? If Dallas gets the ball and goes down and scores a field goal, it's much ado about nothing, right? No big deal, no harm, no foul. They scripted some stuff, got a field goal, that's fine. Green Bay goes down, same thing, scores a field goal, Dallas is going to feel fine. It's not a big deal. But whichever team gets a full 7-point lead or more in this one, I think it's going to put some pressure on the opposite team. For Green Bay, their offense is coming off a week where they struggled a lot. Now Dallas has a lead, whether that's on the opening drive or whether that's a little bit later in the game. Points have been tough to come by. Sometimes you can press a little bit. And I think a touchdown lead for Dallas gives them a lot of confidence in this game. Feels like they can win it. For Green Bay, it's the opposite, right? They get that touchdown early, they get a touchdown lead, and now they can dictate terms a little bit more defensively. Maybe Dak presses a little bit more. Their offense maybe sigh of relief and feels like they get that rhythm early. I think whoever gets a touchdown lead in this one early can really lean on the other one, and it might be the difference in this game. So it's not to say I would take the ball if I were Matt or things like that, but keep an eye on who gets the lead first and maybe puts a little bit of extra pressure on the opposing team. Last but not least, number 10 is the Packers' run defense. Now, Dallas does not have a great run game, so it's not anything I'm concerned about in this one. I still think if I'm Dallas, I want to test that. I want to see if this Packers offense or defense can hold up at the point of attack consistently through the course of a game. Dallas has got a fullback, right? In Hunter Lepke. They've got some good 2 tight end sets. I think if I'm Dallas, I'm going like 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends, 1 wide receiver. And I'm going to make it so that all of Jeff Hafley's moving around in the backside and disguising coverages, I'm going to try to limit that as much as possible. I don't need Dak going through that through the entirety of the day. I got to figure out a way to run the football. I think Dallas is going to test Green Bay out early and often with that. I think Green Bay will be up to the task in this one, but I want to see how Green Bay's defense responds, especially against the Dallas offensive line that just isn't fully functioning, fully healthy, and running backs that aren't really game breakers. I think Green Bay holds up fine, but I think Dallas is going to test them, and I want to see how Green Bay does in run defense in this game. Those are my 10. Packers offensive line, Cowboys offensive line, special teams, Micah Parsons, Kenny Clark, Dak Prescott getting in rhythm, Tucker Kraft, self-inflicted wounds, who gets a touchdown lead first, and Packers run defense. Those are your 10 things to keep an eye on in this game. My prediction for this one, Packers, as of recording this, 6.5-point favorites. I've got Packers 27, Cowboys 16. I think the Packers offense gets going a little bit more in this one, gets their 27 points, and I think they're helped by a couple Cowboys turnovers. Meanwhile, I think Dallas gets 1 touchdown in this game, 3 field goals, some long distance ones from Brandon Aubrey because he is a freaking weapon, but 27-16. And I think Green Bay probably goes into the fourth quarter with that, double digit lead or at least a touchdown plus lead. And I think they feel pretty comfortable, take care of business in the fourth quarter, and Green Bay gets out of Dallas with a win, goes 3-1 into their bye week as they get set to hopefully get healthy and then take on Cincinnati in week 6. Couple of reminders, live pre and post game show. Pre-game show is going to be Maggie Loney and Andrew Mertag. Make sure to check that out. They're awesome, and it's going to be a ton of fun. So 6 p.m. Central Time, about an hour and 20 minutes before the game. They'll get you probably about 20 minutes up before kickoff, probably for about an hour on the live pregame show. And then as soon as the game is done, I'll be on YouTube with a live post-game show as well. Other games to keep an eye on Sunday, you can watch NFC North all day long. International game, Vikings Steelers really early in the morning. Vikings are 2.5-point favorites. I like the Vikings in that one. Well, I don't like the Vikings, but I think they're going to win. Noon game, Browns at Lions. Lions 10.5-point favorites, taking the Lions in that one. Bears at Raiders, 325 game. Raiders 1.5-point favorites. I think that's right. I go back and forth on this one. I could go either way. Those are your ones to watch. And then, of course, the Sunday night football game, Packers Cowboys, should be a fun one. Hopefully, the Packers picking up a huge win. And like I said, getting to 3-1 on the season. Want to shout out Alchemy Wealth Management. If you are not planning for your retirement, you are doing things wrong, and it's super easy. I'm going to make it as easy as possible for you. Retirewithryan.net, a free consultation, free with my good friend Ryan Nelson. Check it out, retirewithryan.net. The link is in the description. Also, they've got some free stuff over there that you're going to want to check out, some great literature on how to get ready for retirement. But the best thing to do is go there, check the calendar, book your appointment. It's totally free. Again, retirewithryan.net. Packers, like I said, I like to win this one. 27-16 should be a fun matchup. Enjoy game day, everybody. Hopefully we get a much better week this week in the NFC North than we did last week with maybe the opposite, right? A 1-3 week, but the Packers are the winners this week. I would love to see Detroit following Green Bay's footsteps and get upset by Cleveland and maybe make us feel a little bit better about that loss to Cleveland, but I'm not holding my breath on that one too much. All right, before we get out of here, shout out to our All-Pro and Hall of Fame members, PJ Wynn, John Wild, Brandon Paletta, Boom Handle, Donald Lee, Lori Lord, Baby QB, David McCluskey, Donald Decker, Alex Wong, Peter Ataka, Jay Zimmerman, B. Brown, Puerto Rican Packer, Dan Guessford, Dylan Pat Scott, SoCal Pack, Chris Rager, Izzy Roberts, Ian Ewing, Carlo Delgado, Willie Winkle-Stinkle, Jen Wright, the Gable Storm, Pack Attack Cast, Chris Weish, Craig, John Dimitropoulos, Hayden Radomski, Devin Lane, Gonzusa, Alexander Newell, Dan Miller, Titletown T, and Bill Reinhart. I'll see you guys soon, but until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.